And welcome to a year of eternal love. Acim Workbook for Students, Lesson 70. My salvation comes from me. All temptation is nothing more than some form of the basic temptation not to believe the idea for today. Salvation seems to come from anywhere except from you. So too does the source of guilt. You see neither guilt nor salvation as in your own mind, and nowhere else. When you realize that all guilt is solely an invention in your mind, you will also realize that guilt and salvation must be in the same place. In understanding this, you are saved. The seeming cost of accepting today's idea is this. It means nothing outside yourself can save you. Nothing outside yourself can hurt you or disturb your peace or upset you in any way. Today's idea places you in charge of the universe, where you belong because of what you are. This is not a role that can be partially accepted, and you must surely begin to see that accepting it is salvation. It may not, however, be clear to you why the recognition that guilt is in your own mind entails the realization that salvation is there as well. God would not have put the remedy for the sickness where it cannot help. That is the way your mind has worked, but hardly is. He wants you to be healed, so he has kept the source of healing where the need for healing lies. You have tried to do just the opposite, making every attempt, however distorted and fantastic it might be, to separate healing from the sickness for which it was intended, and thus keep the sickness. Your purpose was to ensure that healing did not occur. God's purpose was to ensure that it did. Today we practice realizing that God's will and ours are really the same in this. God wants us to be healed, and we do not really want to be sick because it makes us unhappy. Therefore, in accepting the idea for today, we are really in agreement with God. He does not want us to be sick. Neither do we. He wants us to be healed, and so do we. We are ready for 2 longer practice periods today, each of which would last some 10 to 15 minutes. We will, however, still let you decide when to undertake them. We will follow this practice for a number of lessons, and it would again be well to divide and decide in advance when would be a good time to lay aside for each of them. and then adhering to your own decisions as closely as possible. Begin these practice periods by repeating the idea for today, adding a statement signifying your recognition that salvation comes from nothing outside of you. You might put it this way: my salvation comes from me. It cannot come from anywhere else. And then devote a few minutes with your eyes closed to reviewing some of the external places where you have looked for salvation in the past, in other people, in possessions, in various situations and events, and in self-concepts that you sought to make real. Recognize to yourself that it is not there. And tell yourself, my salvation cannot come from any of these things. My salvation comes from me, and only me. Now we will try again to reach the light in you, which is where your salvation is. You cannot find it in the clouds that surround the light, and it is in them, and you've been looking for it. It is not there. It is past the clouds and in the light beyond. Remember that you will have to go through the clouds before you can reach the light. But remember also that you have never found anything in the cloud patterns you have imagined that endured or that you wanted. Since all illusions of salvation have failed you, surely you do not want to remain in the clouds, looking vainly for idols there, when you could easily walk on into the light of real salvation. Try to pass the clouds by whatever means appeals to you. If it helps you, think of me holding your hand and leading you. And I assure you, this will be no idle fantasy. For the short and frequent practice periods today, remind yourself that your salvation comes from you. And nothing but your own thoughts can hamper your progress. You are free from all external interference. You are in charge of your salvation. You are in charge of the salvation of the world. Say then, my salvation comes from me. Nothing outside of me can hold me back. Within me is the world's salvation and my own. With the insights for today, this is reminding us about the clouds, the illusions, the false idols. The ego cannot even conceptualize that salvation is within us, because we've been looking for false idols, these illusions. It's reminding us that we will never find them. We have never found them before, and we will never find them there again. It is urging us to look past these fear-based illusions, and that what we have always wanted is within us. That may be hard. May be hard in days like today when this was recorded, and a virus is going around, and a pandemic, and I may even catch myself thinking for a couple minutes, what is going on? Will everything be okay? Maybe I should do this. And it's all illusions of fear. Everybody running around in a panic. See past the clouds. These are all illusions. It doesn't mean that we don't think with our higher being and we be careful of things. But once the ego gets away, because the ego, the split mind in you, is meaningless. None of what it says will ever make any sense, but we run to it. Not once has that shadow self has given us salvation, peace, and understanding. It has kept us away from unity. It's kept us away from love. It has kept us away from peace. I remind myself that when I see the clouds, when I see the illusions. What this course does is not to give you knowledge. It is to give you peace. And I am happy for this lesson, no matter how long the ego may try to whisper, the saboteur that tries to whisper to you. You can recognize it immediately. Your salvation comes from you. My salvation comes from me. And no one else can offer that for you. I want to thank you for joining with me today. This is a year of eternal love. I love you. And I hope you'll join me for tomorrow's lesson. And until then, God bless.